structural violence that of course has produced violence in return. And I know that the 7th of October has been extremely violent. Crimes have been committed, but what has been, again, never a form of injustice justifies other injustices. And this applies to the Palestinians on October 7 for all what they've suffered and the Israelis since. However, and build infrastructure less and less in terms of risk. But this investigation, when you talk about him adopting, and it's happened incrementally, so there's no point at which the thing you thought might happen would have happened, at which point companies throw their arms up in the air and say we want nothing more to do with an economist. I'm just looking at but even the pension fund of Norway, age of the database that the UN maintains, is just the exposure of a system, because the system itself produced a reality where government expecting similar levels of impunity. Yes. Final question then. How genocidal intent and so deep look, I've engaged in 179% since the assaults upon Gaza began. And yeah, proves you have companies, but even the pension fund of Norway, a country which is seen as
pro-Palestine, and I hate this terminology, pro-Palestine or pro-Israel, because this is not a football match, for God's sake. This is people's life. And if anyone thinks that the Israelis are thriving in this moment, look at the statistics of how many young Israelis are committing suicide for what they have been doing in the Gaza Strip. This is a breaking point for the Israeli society as well. And when you think that the Norwegian pension funds invest 121 billions in 45 companies that have investigated, which are a small number, because again, my report is not that contains a list of companies, and not a duplicate of the database that the UN maintains. It's just the exposure of a system where the companies I mentioned are illustrative across the spectrums, from arms manufacturers to even charities, and again, pension funds and universities, banks, everyone has been lending legitimacy and normalizing the abnormal. And even the Norwegian pension fund cannot divest from this unlawful endeavor. This is the situation we live in today, and it must change, and will not change without people knowing. Because if Palestine was a crime scene, it would hold the fingerprints of all of us. And this is why it's not about everyone is now can be brought before a court. No, but everyone has the power. For example, as workers, as buyers, as shareholders, has the power to correct and to make this process less engaged in criminal activities.
I understand, and I appreciate you don't provide definitive lists in the report, just illustrative examples, some of which people would expect. For example, Lockheed Martin, Elbit Systems, II, and you've mentioned Palantir, but other companies people perhaps wouldn't expect to see: Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Airbnb, Booking.com, Chevron, BP, Caterpillar, and Volvo. I mean, to expect the public to take some of these companies out of their lives would be like asking them to take the eggs out of a baked cake.
Yeah. No, but this is why, this is like when, if you are someone concerned for the environment, you know that in the society and in the consumerist society we live in, you cannot get rid of plastic. You can get as close to zero waste as possible, while you will still produce waste. And still the point here is to make the change you can in your life based on who you are. And if you are, I've been engaging with bankers and asset managers. I didn't even know what these people were doing until 4 or 5 months ago. And there is an increasing number of people reaching out to me. Just a couple of days ago, I had a meeting with bankers and asset managers, both public and private in Switzerland and in other places. And they're asking for guidance. They really would like to do the right thing, and they don't know how, because the system itself has prevented them from knowing the complexity. So for many people, Palestine is this debate about the two-state solution. Is this two people in bracket not getting along and fighting among each other? It's not that. Israel has maintained an unlawful occupation which has become a vehicle or has been used as a vehicle to take Palestinian land and resources. And this is structural violence that, of course, has produced violence in return. And I know that the 7th of October has been extremely violent. Crimes have been committed. But what has been, again, never a form of injustice justifies other injustices. And this applies to the Palestinians on October 7th for all what they've suffered and the Israelis since. However,